Taeho pulled at his collar for the 10th time in 5 minutes. The fabric felt too tight around his neck. The reception hall was packed with hundreds of beings from across the galaxy, and he felt very small among them. "Stop fidgeting," Wu Jin whispered beside him. "You look like a nervous child." "I am nervous," Taeho admitted. "This is my first peace summit. What if I say something wrong? What if I offend someone?" Wu Jin laughed quietly. "Just smile, nod, and don't touch anything. Simple." Easy for him to say. Wu Jin had been a cultural liaison officer for 3 years. He knew how to move through crowds of aliens without stepping on tails or bumping into wings. Taeho had only finished his training 2 months ago. Everything still felt new and terrifying. The reception hall of Harmony's Edge Station was beautiful. Crystal chandeliers floated in the air without any wires holding them. The walls showed images of peaceful planets from every corner of the galaxy. Soft music played from somewhere, though Taeho could not see any musicians. Aliens of every shape and color filled the room. Some were tall and thin, like walking trees. Others were short and round with multiple arms. A few floated instead of walking. Taeho recognized maybe a dozen species from his training. The rest were complete mysteries to him. "I need a drink," he muttered. "Bar is over there," Wu Jin pointed. "Get me something too. Nothing that glows." Taeho nodded and began making his way through the crowd. It was like walking through a living maze. He turned sideways to pass between 2 large creatures having a conversation. He ducked under the floating tentacles of something that looked like a jellyfish. He apologized to a being he accidentally stepped near, though he was not sure if it had feet to step on. The bar was still 20 meters away when disaster struck. Someone bumped into Taeho from behind. It was not a gentle bump. It was a hard shove that sent him stumbling forward. His arms flew out to catch his balance. His right hand reached for something to grab onto. His palm made contact with something soft and warm. Time seemed to slow down. Taeho's brain processed what had happened in horrible detail. His hand was resting on the lower back of a tall alien woman. Not her lower back exactly. A bit lower than that. Much lower. He had just touched an alien diplomat's rear end. Taeho pulled his hand back like he had touched fire. His face turned red. His heart stopped beating for a moment. Every terrible outcome flashed through his mind. He would be arrested. He would cause a war between species. His career was over before it even started. "I am so sorry." The words rushed out of his mouth. "Someone pushed me, and I lost my balance, and I did not mean to touch you, and please forgive me, and—" The alien woman turned around slowly. She was stunning. Her skin was a soft blue color that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Her eyes were large and silver, like 2 moons looking down at him. She was tall, almost a full head taller than Taeho. Her white hair flowed down her back like a waterfall. She wore an elegant dress that marked her as someone important. Taeho expected anger. He expected disgust. He expected her to call for security. Instead, she tilted her head slightly. Her silver eyes studied him with curiosity. Then slowly, her lips curved into a smile. Not an angry smile, a playful one. "I like that," she said. Her voice was smooth like silk. "Do it again, human." Taeho's mouth fell open. "Well, what?" She laughed. It was a musical sound that made several nearby aliens turn to look. "Your face is changing colors. How fascinating." She leaned closer to him. "Does it change more if I do this?" She poked his cheek with one elegant finger. Taeho was certain his face was now the color of a tomato. He could not find words. He could not find thoughts. He just stood there, frozen, while this beautiful alien woman smiled at him like he was the most interesting thing in the room. "You are amusing, little human," she said. "I am Vellani." "And you are?" "Taeho," he managed to say. "Taeho." she repeated, tasting the name. I will remember that. She winked at him, then turned and walked away. Her hips swayed gracefully as she disappeared into the crowd. Taeho watched her go, still unable to move. A hand slapped his shoulder. Wu Jin appeared beside him, grinning like a fool. Did that just happen? Wu Jin asked. Did you just grab an alien princess's butt and she liked it? I did not grab anything, Taeho protested. It was an accident. Sure it was. Wu Jin was laughing so hard tears formed in his eyes. Your first diplomatic mission and you start a romance with royalty. Amazing. She is not royalty, Taeho said. Is she? Wu Jin stopped laughing. Wait, you do not know who that was. That was Velani. Her father is Ambassador Kethral. She is basically Silvari nobility. Taeho felt his stomach drop. I am going to be killed. Maybe, Wu Jin agreed cheerfully. But what a way to go. Taeho needed to find Ha-Na. She was his mentor, the senior diplomat who had agreed to guide him through his first year. She would know what to do. She would know how to fix this. He found her near the windows, talking with a group of officials. She excused herself when she saw the panic on his face. What happened? She asked calmly. Taeho explained everything. The push, the stumble, the accidental touch, the strange reaction. By the end, Ha-Na was nodding slowly with a thoughtful expression. You touched a Silvari woman accidentally, she said. Do you know what that means in their culture? That I should prepare for death? Ha-Na smiled. No. Silvari are extremely aware of their surroundings. They never touch strangers, and strangers never touch them. They consider themselves too graceful for accidents. She paused. But when accidental touch does happen, they believe it is fate. Cosmic destiny, a sign from the universe that two souls are meant to connect. Taeho stared at her. You are joking. I am not. In Silvari culture, you just became very interesting to Velani. She probably thinks the universe pushed you into her. The universe did not push me? Some clumsy alien pushed me? Ha-Na shrugged. The Silvari would say that is the same thing. The universe works through others. She patted his arm. Congratulations, Taeho. You just started something you cannot easily finish. Taeho looked across the room. He could see Velani in the distance, surrounded by other Silvari. She caught his eye and smiled that playful smile again. He had come to the peace summit hoping to learn about diplomacy. Instead, he had accidentally started a cosmic romance with an alien princess. His career was definitely not going the way he had planned. 3 days passed after the incident. Taeho spent those days doing everything he could to avoid Velani. He took different paths through the station. He ate his meals at odd hours. He stayed in his quarters as much as possible. It did not work. No matter where he went, she seemed to appear. He walked into the station library and found her reading at a table near the entrance. He went to the observation deck and she was already there, looking at the stars. He tried the gym at midnight and she walked in 5 minutes later. Are you following me? He finally asked on the 4th day. They were in the botanical garden. Taeho had been sure he would be alone there. The garden was in a remote section of the station that few people visited. Yet here she was, standing among the flowers with that same amused smile. Following you? Velani laughed softly. I was here first. I think you are following me. That was technically true. She had been examining some purple flowers when he walked in. But Taeho was not ready to admit defeat. I did not know you would be here, he said, and yet here we both are. She stepped closer to him. The universe keeps bringing us together, Taeho. Do you not find that meaningful? He found it terrifying. That was what he found it. Lady Velani, he began. Just Velani, she corrected. We shared an intimate moment. Titles are not necessary between us. That moment was an accident. So you keep saying. She did not seem bothered by this. But in 200 years, no one has ever accidentally touched me. Do you understand how strange that is? I am always aware of my surroundings. I always know where every person is. I always move before anyone can get close. She reached out and touched a flower gently. But you got close. You touched me before I could react. That has never happened before. Tejo did not know what to say. He understood the words, but the meaning behind them was hard to accept. To him, it was just a clumsy accident. To her, it was something much bigger. Your species has strange beliefs, he said carefully. And your species does not? Vellani turned to face him fully. Humans touch each other constantly. You shake hands with strangers. You hug friends. You pat each other on the back. To us, that is very strange. That is just normal for us. Exactly. Normal for you. Strange for us. My people avoid touch from those outside our close circle. Touch means something deep. When touch happens by accident from a stranger, we believe the universe is telling us something important. Tejo rubbed the back of his neck. This conversation was making his head hurt. So what does the universe want to tell you about me? Vellani smiled. That is what I am trying to find out. That is why I keep appearing where you are. I want to understand you, human. Tejo. What? My name is Tejo, not human. Her smile grew wider. I know your name. I just like watching you correct me. She gestured to a bench nearby. Will you sit with me? I have questions about your kind. Part of Tejo wanted to run away, but another part, a larger part, was curious, and maybe a little bit flattered that a beautiful alien woman found him interesting. He sat down on the bench. She sat beside him, close, but not quite touching. Ask your questions, he said. The handshake, she began. Why do you grab the hands of strangers and move them up and down? What does this accomplish? Tejo thought about it. It is a greeting, a way of showing respect and trust. In old times, it showed that you were not holding a weapon. But you could be holding a weapon in your other hand. I suppose. But the gesture is more about the meaning now. It says, I come in peace. I want to connect with you. Vellani nodded slowly. Fascinating. And the hug? Why do you wrap your arms around people? That is for people we care about. Family, close friends, lovers. It shows affection. It makes people feel safe and warm. You let people that close to you? Close enough to reach your vital organs? Tejo laughed. We try not to think about it that way. When you hug someone, you trust them completely. That trust is the point. Vellani was quiet for a moment. Her silver eyes looked thoughtful. We do not have anything like that. Even between partners, silvery maintain distance. Touch is rare and formal. It happens during ceremonies and bonding rituals, never casually. That sounds lonely, Tejo said without thinking. She looked at him sharply. For a moment, he thought he had offended her. But then her expression softened. It is, she admitted quietly. I am always surrounded by people, but never close to anyone. I am my father's daughter, the diplomat's child. People watch me. They study me. They try to use me for political advantage, but they never truly see me. I am sorry, Tejo said. He meant it. Under all her confidence and playfulness, he could see something sad in her eyes. Do not be sorry. It is simply how things are. She straightened her posture, returning to her formal self. But that is why you interest me, Tejo. You saw me for one moment and touched me without any plan or purpose. It was pure and unplanned. In my world, that is almost magical. The garden was quiet around them. Colorful flowers swayed gently in the artificial breeze. Somewhere, a small fountain made peaceful sounds. Maybe I can teach you, Tejo offered. About human customs, I mean. If you want to understand my people better, I can show you. Vellani's eyes lit up. You would do that? It is basically my job. I am a cultural liaison officer. I help different species understand each other. But this would be just for me. Personal lessons, private time. She leaned slightly closer. People might talk. Tejo swallowed. Let them talk. He was not sure where that courage came from. Maybe it was the sadness he had seen in her eyes. Maybe it was the way she looked at him like he was something special instead of just another human. Whatever the reason, he wanted to help her. Vellani stood up gracefully. Then we have an agreement. You will teach me about human customs, and perhaps I will teach you about Silvari ways. She offered her hand to him. This is how you seal a promise, yes? The handshake? Tejo stood and took her hand. Her skin was cool and smooth. The touch sent a small shiver through him. Deal, he said. From across the garden, through a gap in the flowers, a pair of cold eyes watched them. Ambassador Kethral had been looking for his daughter. He had found her holding hands with a human. His expression showed no emotion. But inside, a storm was beginning to form. This human was getting too close to his daughter. Something would need to be done about that. Vellani and Tejo did not notice him watching. They were too busy smiling at each other, unaware of the trouble that was coming their way. The lessons began the next evening on the observation deck. Stars filled the massive window like scattered diamonds. Tejo arrived first and waited nervously. He was not sure why he felt nervous. This was just cultural education, nothing more. Then Vellani walked in, and his heart beat faster. She had changed from her formal diplomatic dress into something simpler, a flowing gown of soft silver that matched her eyes. Her white hair was loose around her shoulders instead of styled perfectly. She looked less like a diplomat's daughter and more like a regular person. You look different, Tejo said. Good different or bad different? Good. Definitely good. She smiled and sat beside him on the curved bench that faced the window. So, teacher, what is my first lesson? Tejo had prepared for this. He had made a list of simple human customs to explain. Start easy, then work up to the harder ones. The handshake, he said. We did this before, but let me explain properly. He held out his hand. She placed hers in his. Her grip was light and uncertain. Firmer, Tejo guided. A handshake should be confident, not crushing but not weak either. You want to show that you are equals meeting each other. Vellani adjusted her grip. Like this? Better. Now, 2 or 3 shakes, up and down, then release. They practiced several times. Each time, Vellani grew more comfortable. By the 5th handshake, she was doing it perfectly. This is strange, she admitted. But I understand the meaning now. It is like a small battle where both sides agree to peace. That is actually a good way to describe it. Next, Tejo taught her the high 5. This one required more explanation. When you are happy about something, you raise your hand like this. He held up his palm. The other person hits it with their palm. It celebrates a shared success. Hit it? Is this not violent? No, it is fun. Try it. Vellani raised her hand. Tejo swung his palm toward hers. The contact made a satisfying slap sound. Oh! Vellani's eyes widened. That felt good. Now you try hitting my hand. She did. The force of her strike knocked Tejo backward off the bench. He landed on the floor with a grunt. Vellani gasped and rushed to help him up. I am so sorry. I forgot that Silvari are stronger than humans. Tejo laughed, despite the pain in his shoulder. Note to self. Warn you about strength differences next time. She helped him back onto the bench, her face showing genuine concern. Are you damaged? Just my pride. He rubbed his shoulder. Let us try that again, maybe with 10% of your strength. They practiced until Vellani could high-five without sending him flying. She laughed each time she got it right. The sound was beautiful. I like this custom, she declared. It is silly but joyful. That describes a lot of human customs. The stars outside shifted slowly as the station rotated. Time passed quickly while they talked and practiced. Tejo found himself relaxing. Velani was not the cold, formal diplomat he had expected. She was curious and warm and surprisingly funny. Now, Tejo said carefully, we come to a harder lesson, the hug. Velani grew still. The one where you hold someone close to your vital organs. Yes, but it is not about danger. It is about trust and comfort. When you hug someone, you are saying, I care about you. I want you to feel safe. Show me. Tejo hesitated. Are you sure? If this makes you uncomfortable, I want to learn. Her silver eyes were serious. Please. He stood up. She stood facing him. The space between them felt charged with something he could not name. First, you open your arms like this. Tejo demonstrated. Then you step closer and wrap your arms around the other person. Your arms can go over their shoulders or around their waist. Pull them gently against you. Hold them there. And then? Then you just stay. For a few seconds or longer. However long feels right. Velani opened her arms. Her movement was uncertain, like a child learning to walk. Tejo stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her. He felt her stiffen at first. Her body was tense, unsure. Relax, he said softly. I will not hurt you. Just feel it. Slowly, her arms came around him. Her hands pressed against his back. Her body softened and leaned into his. He heard her breath catch. Oh, she whispered. They stood there, wrapped around each other as the stars turned outside the window. Tejo could feel her heartbeat against his chest. It was fast at first, then gradually slowed. When they finally separated, Velani's eyes were wet. Are you okay? Tejo asked with concern. No one has ever held me like that, she said. Her voice was thick with emotion. 200 years of life, and I have never felt that safe, that warm. A tear slid down her blue cheek. Why do humans give this away so freely? Because everyone deserves to feel cared for. She wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed by her tears. I must look foolish, crying over a simple embrace. You look human, Tejo said gently. And that is not an insult. She laughed, a shaky sound mixed with lingering tears. You are a strange man, Tejo. You make me feel things I do not understand. They sat back down on the bench closer than before. Their shoulders touched lightly. Neither moved away. Can I ask you something? Velani said. Anything. Why are you being so kind to me? I know I forced this situation upon you. The universe trick, the fate story. You could have refused to teach me. Why did you agree? Tejo thought about the question seriously. When you talked about being lonely, I understood. I am always the new guy, the junior officer, the forgettable human among amazing aliens. People look past me. They do not see me as someone worth knowing. He glanced at her. But you looked at me like I was interesting, like I mattered. That felt nice. You do matter, Velani said firmly. You matter more than you know. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Tejo noticed that Velani had not moved away from him. Her shoulder remained pressed against his. For a Silvari, that was significant. Velani, Tejo said suddenly, there is a formal ceremony happening on the Silvari flagship next week, the one your father organized. The choosing gala? Yes, I must attend. All eligible Silvari nobles will be there, hoping to impress me. She sighed. It will be boring and uncomfortable. Would it help if I came with you, as your guest? She turned to stare at him. You would do that? Do you know what it would mean? A human escorting me to the choosing gala would cause a scandal. Would that bother you? A slow smile spread across her face. No, It would not bother me at all. She took his hand in hers. I would like that very much, Tai-ho. Across the station, Wu Jin was telling Ha-Na about Tai-ho's strange new friendship with the Silvari princess. Neither of them noticed Ambassador Kethral passing by, his face dark with barely hidden anger. The ambassador had heard enough. This human was becoming a problem, and Kethral always dealt with problems. The Silvari flagship was the most beautiful ship Tai-ho had ever seen. It looked like it was made of crystal and light. Every surface reflected rainbows. Music played from walls that seemed to breathe. The whole vessel felt alive. Tai-ho felt very out of place. He was wearing his best formal uniform. Ha-Na had helped him prepare for hours. She taught him which words to use and which words to avoid. She explained which gestures were respectful and which were offensive. He had memorized everything. But standing in the entrance hall of the flagship, surrounded by hundreds of elegant Silvari, his mind went blank. "Breathe," Vellani whispered beside him. She looked stunning in a gown of deep blue that sparkled like the night sky. "They cannot eat you. I made sure of that." "That is not funny." It was a little funny. A tall Silvari male approached them. He was handsome in the way all Silvari were handsome. Perfect features, glowing skin, silver eyes. He looked at Tai-ho like one might look at dirt on an expensive carpet. "Lady Vellani," the male said, ignoring Tai-ho completely. "I am Lord Davon. Your father speaks highly of my family. I hoped we might speak privately about our potential future." Vellani's smile became cold. "Lord Davon, this is Tai-ho, my guest for the evening. All conversation will include him." Lord Davon finally looked at Tai-ho. His lip curled slightly. "You brought a human to the choosing gala? How unusual." "I find unusual things interesting," Vellani replied. "Do you not agree?" The question was a trap. If he said yes, he approved of Tai-ho's presence. If he said no, he called Vellani's interests boring. Lord Davon chose to retreat instead. "Perhaps we will speak later," he said stiffly, then walked away. "He seems nice," Tai-ho said dryly. "He is one of the better ones. Wait until you meet the others." The next hour proved her right. A parade of noble Silvari males approached Vellani, each trying to impress her while pretending Tai-ho did not exist. Some were polite about it. Others were openly hostile. One even asked Vellani if her pet human was house-trained. Vellani handled each one with grace and barely hidden annoyance. She rejected every offer to dance, every invitation to walk in the gardens, every suggestion of a private meeting. Through it all, she kept Tai-ho at her side. "Why do they keep coming?" Tai-ho asked during a brief moment of peace. "Because I am valuable. My father is powerful. Marriage to me would bring political advantage." She sipped her drink, a blue liquid that smelled like flowers. "They do not see me. They see opportunity. That is terrible. That is politics." A new presence entered the hall. The crowd grew quiet. Tai-ho saw Vellani tense beside him. Ambassador Kethral walked toward them. He was older than the other Silvari, with lines on his face that suggested centuries of life. His silver eyes were cold like frozen lakes. He moved through the crowd like a shark through water. "Daughter," he said when he reached them. His voice was calm but carried an edge. "Might I borrow your companion for a moment? I wish to show him our gardens." It was not really a request. Vellani started to object, but Tai-ho touched her arm lightly. "It is fine. I should speak with your father." She looked worried but nodded. Tai-ho followed the ambassador through a side door into a corridor of crystal and light. The gardens were empty, probably intentional. Kethral led Tai-ho to a balcony overlooking a sea of stars. Then he turned, and his polite mask fell away. "You will leave my daughter alone," he said directly. "Whatever game you are playing ends tonight." Taeho kept his voice steady. I am not playing any game. Ambassador. Truly? A junior human officer somehow captures the attention of Sylvari nobility? You expect me to believe that is coincidence? It was coincidence. An accident at the Peace Summit. Your daughter chose to pursue the connection. I simply responded to her interest. Kethril stepped closer. Though he was not much taller than Taeho, his presence was overwhelming. Do you know what humans are to us? You are children. Your species has existed for the blink of an eye. You burn bright and die fast, leaving nothing behind but noise and chaos. With respect, Ambassador, that is not entirely true. Is it not? Your kind fights wars over patches of ground. You pollute your own planets. You destroy yourselves with your emotions and your passions. His voice dripped with contempt. My daughter deserves better than a primitive creature who will be dead before she reaches middle age. The words stung. But Taeho did not look away. You are right, he said calmly. Humans are young. We make mistakes. We feel too much and we die too soon. He straightened his spine. But we also love fiercely. We protect those we care about. We build bridges between different peoples because we know life is short and connections matter. Kethril blinked, surprised by the response. Your daughter is lonely, Taeho continued. She is surrounded by people who see her as a prize, not a person. I see her. I listen to her. I make her laugh. He met the ambassador's cold eyes. If that makes me a primitive creature, then I am proud to be one. Before Kethril could respond, shouts erupted from the main hall. Both of them rushed back inside. A confrontation was happening near the center of the room. A group of aliens from the Vorn species was arguing loudly with several Silvery nobles. The Vorn were known for their hot tempers and their hatred of the Silvery. Your kind cheated us in the trade agreement, a Vorn was shouting. You think you are better than everyone. You look down on all other species. The Silvery noble being yelled at looked ready to respond with anger. The situation was seconds away from becoming violent. Taeho moved without thinking. He stepped between the two groups, hands raised in a peaceful gesture. Friends, please, he said in a calm voice. This is a celebration of peace. Let us not ruin it with old anger. The Vorn turned his fury toward Taeho. This is not your business, human. You are right. But I have learned something in my time here. Every species has been wronged by another at some point. The question is whether we let that wrong define us forever or whether we choose to build something new. The room had gone silent. Everyone was watching the small human standing between two angry groups. The Sylvari have their flaws, Taeho continued. So do humans. So do the Vorn. But we are all here, under one roof, trying to find a way to live together. That matters more than old wounds. He turned to the Sylvari noble. Would you apologize for any offense given, intended or not? The noble hesitated, then nodded stiffly. I apologize. Taeho turned to the Vorn. And would you accept, for the sake of the peace we all want? The Vorn's anger flickered. He looked at Taeho with something like respect. You have courage, human. Fine. I accept. The tension broke. People began breathing again. Conversations resumed slowly. Vellani appeared at Taeho's side, her eyes shining. That was incredible. Across the room, Ambassador Kethril watched with an unreadable expression. The human had just prevented a diplomatic disaster. He had shown courage and wisdom that Kethril had not expected. Perhaps there was more to this primitive creature than he had assumed. Perhaps. Weeks passed after the choosing gala. The story of the human who stopped a fight spread across the station. People who had never noticed Taeho before now nodded to him in hallways. Other species asked him for advice on dealing with conflicts. His reputation grew. But Taeho only cared about one thing: spending time with Vellani. They met every evening now, sometimes on the observation deck. sometimes in the gardens. Sometimes they just walked through the station, talking about nothing and everything. Each meeting brought them closer. Tonight, they were in a small private lounge that Velani had reserved. Soft lights glowed on the walls, music played quietly from hidden speakers. Outside the window, a nearby planet painted the room in gentle blue light. "I need to tell you something," Velani said. Her voice was serious. Teho's heart clenched. Those words usually meant something bad. "What is it?" "These past weeks have been different for me. I have never felt this way before. My people bond slowly over decades. We take centuries to fall in love." She looked at him with her silver eyes. "But you have done something to me in just a few weeks. I do not understand it. Is that bad?" "No. It is terrifying and wonderful." She reached across the space between them and took his hand. "I think about you constantly. When we are apart, I count the minutes until I see you again. When we are together, I never want it to end." Teho felt his breath catch. "Velani, humans fall fast, you told me once. You feel deeply and quickly. I laughed at that idea before. How foolish, I thought. How reckless." She squeezed his hand. "But now I understand. Now I am falling too." Teho stood up and moved to sit beside her. Their knees touched. Their hands remained connected. The blue light from outside made her skin glow like a sapphire. "I was afraid to say anything," he admitted. "You are a diplomat's daughter. I am just a junior officer. I thought I was being foolish for feeling this way about you." "What way?" He looked into her eyes. "I think about you all the time. Your laugh, your smile, the way you tilt your head when you are curious. I have fallen for you, Velani. Completely, hopelessly." She let out a shaky breath. "Say that again." "I have fallen for you. And again." He laughed softly. "I have fallen for you. I am falling for you. I will keep falling for you." She leaned closer. "Humans express deep feelings with touch, yes? Show me." Teho lifted his free hand and placed it gently over her heart. He could feel it beating fast beneath his palm. This gesture, she had told him once, was the Silvari way of declaring serious intent. By using it now, he was speaking in her language. Velani's eyes widened. "You know what that means?" "I know exactly what it means." She placed her own hand over his heart. Two hearts, separated by skin and bone, beating together. "Then we are bonded," she whispered. "In my culture, this cannot be undone. Are you certain?" "I have never been more certain of anything." She kissed him. It was gentle at first, uncertain. Silvari did not kiss. This was something she had learned from watching human entertainment. But she learned quickly. The kiss deepened, filled with weeks of unspoken feelings finally released. When they parted, both were breathless. "That was very human," Velani said with a smile. "Did you like it?" "I liked it very much. We should practice more." They practiced until the blue planet set and the room grew dark. They talked and laughed and held each other. For a few perfect hours, the universe contained only the two of them. Then reality intruded. Taiho's communicator beeped urgently. He answered it reluctantly. "Taiho." It was Hana's voice, tense with concern. "You need to come to the command center, now. Bring Velani if she is with you." "What happened?" "Just come. Quickly." They rushed through the station to the command center. Hana was there, along with Wu Jin and Captain Dae-hyun. Their faces were grim. "What is going on?" Velani demanded. Hana activated a holographic display. A message appeared, written in silvery symbols. "This came from the Silvery High Council 30 minutes ago," Hana explained. "Ambassador Kethral has reported his concerns about your relationship to the Council. They have summoned you home for a partnership discussion." Velani's face went pale. "No." "What does that mean?" Teho asked. "It means they want to arrange a political marriage for me, with a Silvari noble. Someone my father approves of. Her voice shook with anger. He is trying to separate us. Captain Dae-hyun spoke carefully. The council's message suggests that the partnership has already been selected. A lord named Daevon. Tae-ho remembered the arrogant noble from the choosing gala. She does not want to marry him. What she wants may not matter, Hana said sadly. Sylvari nobility follows tradition strictly. If the council decides on a partnership, she is expected to accept. Velani was pacing now, her usual grace replaced by agitation. This is my father's doing. He thinks if he removes me from the station, I will forget about Tae-ho. That I will accept a proper Sylvari partner and return to being his obedient daughter. Will you? Tae-ho asked quietly. She stopped pacing and looked at him. Her silver eyes burned with determination. Never. I choose you, Tae-ho. I do not care what my father wants. I do not care what the council demands. My heart has made its choice. Then we fight this, Tae-ho said. There must be a way. Woo Jin stepped forward. Actually, there might be. I did some research after the gala. Sylvari tradition allows an outsider to challenge a partnership decision, but they must prove their worth through something called the trial of resonance. What is that? Tae-ho asked. Velani's face changed. Hope and fear mixed together. It is a test of emotional truth. The challenger's mind is open to the council. Every feeling, every memory, every intention is revealed. If there is any deception or selfishness, it is exposed. Has any non-Sylvari ever passed it? No one has ever tried. The trial was designed for Sylvari minds. Alien minds might not survive the process. The room went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Tae-ho straightened his spine. Then I will be the first. Tae-ho, no. Velani grabbed his arm. The risk is too great. If something goes wrong, you could die. Or worse, your mind could break. And if I do nothing, I lose you. That is worse than any risk. She stared at him, tears forming in her silver eyes. You foolish, brave, wonderful human. Why do you have to be so stubborn? Because I love you. He said the words simply, like stating a fact. And I will not let anyone take you away without a fight. Hana and Captain Dae-hyun exchanged looks. This was beyond normal diplomatic protocol, but they could see the determination in Tae-ho's eyes. We will support you, Captain Dae-hyun said finally. Whatever you need. Tae-ho nodded gratefully. Then he turned back to Velani and pulled her into a hug. She clung to him tightly, her tears wetting his shoulder. I will pass the trial, he promised. I will prove myself worthy, and then no one will ever separate us again. She pulled back and looked at his face. You really believe that? I have to, because the alternative is unthinkable. She kissed him once more, fierce and desperate. Then she stepped back and wiped her eyes. Then let us prepare. You have a trial to face. The request to address the Sylvari Council took 3 days to process. 3 days of waiting, 3 days of preparing, 3 days of wondering if he was making the biggest mistake of his life. Tae-ho spent that time studying everything he could about the trial of resonance. The information was limited. Few outsiders knew about the ritual, and those who did spoke of it in hushed, fearful tones. The trial uses telepathic technology, Velani explained during one of their preparation sessions. It connects your mind to the council members. They will see everything you feel, every emotion, every memory, every hidden thought. Everything. Everything. There is no hiding, no pretending. If you have ever lied about your feelings for me, they will know. If you have any selfish motives, they will see. Tae-ho nodded slowly. And if I pass? If my intentions are pure? Then by ancient law, they must accept your claim. The partnership arrangement would be canceled. We would be free to be together. She took his hand. But Tae-ho, The process is designed for silvery minds. We have natural telepathic barriers that protect us during the trial. Humans have no such protection. What does that mean exactly? It means the Council will see everything in your mind, but you will also feel their presence inside you. That experience can be overwhelming. Other species who have tried similar rituals have broken. Broken how? She did not answer. She did not need to. The night before the trial, Taeho sat alone on the observation deck. The stars outside seemed very far away. He thought about his life, his choices, the strange path that had led him here. A month ago, he was a nervous junior officer hoping not to embarrass himself at a diplomatic event. Now he was preparing to risk his mind for love. Wu Jin found him there. "You are actually going to do this," Wu Jin said, sitting beside him. "You are going to let aliens poke around inside your brain for a woman you met a month ago. She is not just any woman. I know. I have seen the way you look at her, the way she looks at you." Wu Jin was quiet for a moment. "I thought it was crazy at first. Human and Sylvari? Impossible. But watching you two together, it makes sense somehow." Taeho looked at his friend. "Are you actually being supportive? Do not let it go to your head. I still think you are insane." Wu Jin grinned. "But you are my friend. If anyone can pull off this crazy plan, it is you. Thank you. Just do not die, okay? I do not want to break in a new roommate." They laughed together. It felt good to laugh before what was coming. The next morning, Taeho stood in the station's main communication chamber. A holographic link had been established with the Sylvari Council on their home world. 7 council members appeared as glowing figures, seated in a semicircle. Ambassador Kethral stood to the side, his face unreadable. Velani was there in person, standing near Taeho but not touching him. Protocol demanded distance during official proceedings. "Human Taeho," the Central Council member spoke. She was ancient. Her blue skin faded to pale silver. "You have requested the trial of resonance to prove your worth as a partner for Lady Velani. Do you understand what this trial requires?" "I do." "Do you understand the risks to your mind and your life?" "I do." "And you still wish to proceed?" Taeho glanced at Velani. She looked terrified, but when their eyes met, she gave him the smallest nod of encouragement. "I do," he said firmly. "Very well. Prepare the connection." Technicians moved forward with a device that looked like a crown made of light. They placed it on Taeho's head. It hummed softly, warming against his skin. "When the trial begins," the ancient council member explained, "your mind will be opened to us. We will experience your emotions and memories as our own. There will be no hiding. No deception is possible. Are you ready?" Taeho took a deep breath. "Yes." The crown flared with light. The sensation hit Taeho like a wave crashing over him. Suddenly, there were other presences in his mind. 7 of them, old and powerful and curious. They moved through his thoughts like fish swimming through water. He felt them probing his memories, his childhood, his training, his arrival at the station. They saw his nervousness, his fear of failure, his desperate desire to prove himself. Then they reached his memories of Velani, the first meeting, her playful smile, his embarrassment. They felt his confusion, his uncertainty, the slow growth of something he did not understand. The lessons, the handshake, the high five, the hug. They experienced the warmth that spread through him each time he made her laugh, the protectiveness he felt when she spoke of her loneliness, the choosing gala, standing between the angry groups, not thinking about danger, only thinking about preventing harm. They felt his genuine desire for peace, his belief that understanding could bridge any gap, the confession, his heart racing as she spoke about her feelings, the joy that exploded in his chest when she kissed him. the absolute certainty that he would do anything for her. The council members dug deeper. They looked for hidden motives, political ambition, desire for status, greed for power. They found nothing. What they found instead surprised them. They found a mind full of pure emotion, love without conditions, joy without calculation, fear of losing her that had nothing to do with what she could give him. They found a human heart laid completely bare. But the trial was not easy for Tae-ho. As the council searched his mind, he felt their presence like pressure building behind his eyes. Memories flashed faster and faster. His mother's voice, his father's face, friends laughing, strangers frowning, every moment of happiness and pain mixed together in a storm. His knees buckled. Someone caught him. Vellani, breaking protocol, holding him upright. "Stop!" she cried. "You are hurting him." "The trial must complete," the ancient council member said. But her voice had changed. There was something like wonder in it. The pressure peaked. Tae-ho saw white. He heard his own voice screaming from far away. Then, suddenly it stopped. The crown went dark. The presences withdrew from his mind. Tae-ho collapsed into Vellani's arms, gasping for breath. The council chamber was silent. The ancient council member stared at Tae-ho with wide eyes. The other council members looked equally shocked. "In all my centuries," the ancient one finally spoke, "I have never experienced anything like that. The depth of emotion, the purity of intent, the raw, overwhelming power of a human heart." Ambassador Kethral stepped forward. "What did you see?" "We saw love, Ambassador. True love. The kind we tell stories about but rarely believe exists." She looked at Tae-ho with something like respect. "This human has passed the trial of resonance. His claim to Lady Vellani is valid." Vellani made a sound between a laugh and a sob. She held Tae-ho tighter. "The partnership arrangement is cancelled," the ancient one continued. "Lady Vellani is free to choose her own path." Through his exhaustion, Tae-ho managed to smile. He had done it. He had proven himself. He had won. Recovery took 2 days. Tae-ho spent most of that time sleeping, his mind healing from the strain of the trial. Vellani barely left his side. She held his hand while he rested and fed him soup when he woke. "You are going to spoil me," he mumbled during one of his waking moments. "You nearly destroyed your mind for me. I think some soup is the least I can do." On the 3rd day, Tae-ho felt well enough to walk. Vellani helped him to the observation deck, their favorite place. The stars greeted them like old friends. "The council was shocked," Vellani said as they settled onto their usual bench. "They are still talking about what they saw in your mind. Apparently, human emotions are much more intense than they expected." "Is that good or bad?" "Good. Very good. They called it beautiful. Overwhelming but beautiful." She laughed softly. "One council member said she wants to study human love as a cultural phenomenon. She thinks it might be the key to understanding why humans accomplish so much in such short lifespans." Tae-ho considered this. "We do feel things strongly. Maybe that is why we rush through life trying to experience everything. We know our time is limited." "It is not a weakness. I used to think so, but now I understand. Your short lives give you fire, passion, urgency." She leaned against him. "It is what I love most about you." "What you love about me?" He smiled. "Is that an official statement?" "Consider it official." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. The stars turned slowly outside the window. Somewhere in the distance, ships moved like fireflies against the darkness. "What happens now?" Tae-ho asked eventually. "Now we live. Together. The council has recognized our bond. No one can challenge it." She took his hand. "Of course, there will be difficulties. Some Silvari will never accept a human partner. Some humans will think you are crazy. We will face criticism and judgment. Do you care? Not even a little. A chime sounded at the entrance. They turned to see Ambassador Kethral standing in the doorway. His face was difficult to read. Velani stiffened beside Teho. Father. Daughter. Kethral walked slowly toward them. His movements lacked their usual confidence. He looked older somehow. Tired. May I sit? Velani nodded cautiously. Kethral sat on a bench facing them. For a long moment, he simply looked at Teho, studying him, measuring him. I watched the trial through the council link, he finally said. I saw everything they saw, your memories, your feelings. He paused. Your love for my daughter. Teho waited. He did not know what to say. I have lived for 500 years, Kethral continued. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have negotiated treaties that shaped the galaxy. I thought I understood the universe. He shook his head slowly. But I did not understand humans. I dismissed your kind as primitive, emotional, weak. We are emotional, Teho admitted. Yes, but I was wrong about what that means. Kethral looked at his daughter. When I saw your memories of defending Velani's honor, of stepping between angry groups without any thought for your own safety, I understood something. Your emotions are not weakness. They are strength. Velani reached for her father's hand. Father, I spent so long trying to protect you from what I thought was dangerous. I arranged partnerships and meetings and political connections. I never asked what you wanted. I never saw how lonely you were. His voice cracked slightly. I failed you as a father. You did what you thought was right, Velani said softly. But it was not right. It took a human showing me his heart to make me see that. Kethral turned to Teho. You passed the trial. You proved your worth. But more than that, you showed me what true courage looks like. He stood and approached Teho. For a terrible moment, Teho thought the ambassador might strike him. Instead, Kethral extended his hand. Teho stared at it. A handshake, a human gesture, coming from the proud ambassador who had looked down on humans just weeks ago. Teho took the hand and shook it firmly. Welcome to the family, Kethral said. The words seemed to cost him something, but he meant them. After the ambassador left, Velani threw her arms around Teho. She was laughing and crying at the same time. I never thought I would see that, she gasped. My father shaking hands with a human, accepting you, apologizing to me. People can change, Teho said. Even 500-year-old diplomats. You changed him. You change everyone you meet. She pulled back to look at his face. There is something special about you, Teho. Something that makes people want to be better. I am just a clumsy human who accidentally grabbed the wrong part of a beautiful alien woman. You are much more than that. She kissed him gently. You are my clumsy human. A week later, the station hosted a celebration. It was meant to honor the end of the peace summit, but everyone knew the real reason. Word had spread about the human who passed the trial of resonance, about the love story that bridged two species. The reception hall was packed. Humans and Silvari and dozens of other species mingled together. Laughter echoed off the walls. Music played from floating speakers. Teho stood near the center of it all, surrounded by friends he had made over the past months. Wu Jin kept telling embarrassing stories about their training days. Hana smiled proudly like a mother watching her child succeed. Captain Dae-hyun shook hands with alien diplomats who wanted to meet the famous human liaison officer. Velani moved through the crowd toward him. She wore a dress of silver and blue that made her look like a star come to life. Her smile was bright enough to light the room. People keep congratulating me, she said as she reached him. They say I am lucky to have found such a remarkable human. What do you say? I say they are correct. She took his hand. Dance with me? They moved to the open space where couples were swaying to the music. Tae-ho was not a great dancer, but Vellani led them gracefully. They turned slowly among the stars, surrounded by beings from across the galaxy. This all started because someone bumped into me, Tae-ho said. One random shove and everything changed. Not random, Vellani corrected. The universe pushed you toward me. Remember? You still believe that? More than ever. Her silver eyes sparkled. The universe knew what it was doing. It brought me someone who would change my life. Someone who would teach me about hugs and high fives and love without limits. And it brought me someone worth fighting for. The music swelled around them. Other couples moved nearby, but Tae-ho and Vellani only saw each other. You know, Vellani said with a mischievous smile, you could touch me again. On purpose this time. Tae-ho laughed. Where exactly? Anywhere you want, human. I am yours now. He pulled her closer and kissed her as the stars turned outside and the galaxy celebrated around them. It had been a strange journey from that first accidental touch to this moment. But standing here, holding the woman he loved, Tae-ho knew he would not change a single thing. Sometimes the universe knows exactly what it is doing. All it takes is one small push in the right direction.